Hey, let's get on out into the garden and get doing some work. We're wasting daylight indoors here. A lot of projects we need to get on working on. Well, okay. Eh, Maybe not. Got a little too excited, I guess. Just not quite that time of year. I guess we could kind of roll around out here and get all muddy and wet, and I think we can spend our time a little bit better. So let's just get back inside and talk about something. Well, now we've been outside. See, that's not happening. What can we do, to be working on that garden for this coming spring? We can get planning. We can get ready for that spring garden. And one method I'd like to, you know, help you explore, and maybe you're going to consider is one of the ancient garden methods, and a real popular one, the one I've had some success with is like the three sisters approach. With your corn, beans, and squash. You see on the internet, you see all kinds of different ways of doing that, and probably there's truth, and probably more or less all of them are going to work out. But I like to try and keep things simple, keep it as simple as we can, and less labor intensive, that sort of thing. So rather than timing all my different crops out and all of that jazz, I'm saying you just put all your corn, you put your corn seed, your bean seed, and squash seed in all at the same time. And I guess they could hinder each other a little bit out in the beginning, but ultimately it'll more or less work out. And I've seen that. I've done it. There's different variations on how you can do this. So you don't need to be just restricted to those three plants. I mean, you could use sunflowers instead of the corn. The beans can be a scarlet runner bean. Scarlet runner beans, they get a beautiful red flower. And, they'll just twine up either your corn or your sunflower. And you will get a crop out of it. And the beans themselves are actually pretty. A lot of times they're kind of a deep maroon red, and then they're speckled with like a lighter pink or something. You could try cucumbers. You could try them sugar baby watermelons. Gourds. You could grow some ornamental gourds. So there's different things doing that. Different plants, and that's half fun, is trying some of these different things. And you can even try different things in different beds. Because you don't have to go like crazy and dominate your whole garden plan around doing a Three Sisters type planting. Basically if you have like a 3-foot mound, it doesn't need to be tall. It can, it can just be a few inches up, and you can, plant in there, and you can even put this over in a flower bed against the fence or something. Or else you could have one right in the middle of your raised bed garden. You have an empty space, maybe it could be a centering point, and then you're just doing like one single mound. You've got full access around it. You can harvest however you want. That can be great. You can do a bigger patch of it. Here's a different concept on the same theory. Is if you're interested in like a grinding corn, one that you'll be making flour out of, and beans that are the hard shell type beans, and probably a winter type squash in this, just kind of tangled jungle Three Sisters type thing. You can, an area about as big as you want. Let's say you just did like an 8-foot by 8-foot. You didn't even really do a mound. You just kind of maybe, you just covered the seeds and and you throw some water on there. You don't really do nothing else. You just let it grow into a great big mess. It might be kind of ugly, but you're not putting any labor into it. So, what are you really out there? And then when fall comes, you come in and basically cut everything down. And you're going to find squash all mingled in there. The beans are going to be dry, and the corn's going to be dry. You got three things out of one space with very little effort. And, I don't necessarily like it that wild. And I like my corn. I like sweet corn. I want some good sweet corn, and some of those beans. Maybe some of them you let go to be a hard bean, but some of them you might want to pick a few fresh. And if you're doing a zucchini or something, you're kind of want to be doing a continual harvest of the zucchinis. So, just a 3-foot mound kind of randomly placed around your yard or garden or in the food forest. We might tuck it in a little sunny spot where nothing's growing, or we might have a little area where we have 4 or 5 of these little mounds, and that can really be a great way. Now with corn, they're kind of a weird pollinator, and they need to be close together. Corn needs to be close together. So in your 3-foot mound, I'd recommend putting in probably at least 4 corn seeds, and probably even 5. That's going to give you good tight corn in that 3-foot area, and they should be able to pollinate each other really quite well. And then you probably put in some beans. You probably do about 4 beans. I mean, if only 2 beans come up or something, then it's still going to more or less be successful. So around 3 or 4 beans. And you probably only want 1 or 2 squash. And that goes for the same if you're doing a cucumber or something like that. You probably only want a couple of plants. I mean, 1's going to be plenty in them 3-foot mounds, but you can live dangerously and put in a couple. Have fun with it. Play around with it, because we look at what archaeologists actually know about this method, and we have it handed down from like some specific Eastern tribes that this is the way they did it with the mounds. But I mean, you go back a few thousand years, what kind of tools did they really have? They're probably like sticks or a shoulder bone of a elk or something like that, and they're kind of working the soil with some things like that. It'd be really cool to know what they actually were using, and so I really want to explore that more sometime. But anyway, so the soil probably wasn't worked all that much. But we find things that are unique, because this archaeological puzzle isn't complete. And it's fascinating. It really is fascinating to me to dig into it and research some of this stuff. I read a report where they found potato residues on tools from a very, very cold north central Utah environment. And they get a lot of snow there and stuff. And, I never knew that potatoes were cultivated here. And I guess they don't have actual plants, but it's the tools themselves that they found those residues. And, I just don't see them in a pre-horse world carrying potatoes from hundreds of miles away to eat them in a more northern environment. So most likely they were growing potatoes there. The big point of this is play with your Three Sisters garden. Maybe try potatoes in those mounds. I mean, that's a common way of growing potatoes. Everybody mounds up potatoes, and then you can pull away the mound and you get your harvest. And so maybe they actually complemented corn pretty well, and maybe they did all right with the beans. You know, that's definitely something that I think's worth exploring. You know, it doesn't hurt. You could probably throw in a few onions in this area. Yeah, a good chance that they might get crowded out, but you can try different things. That you could even be, this could be a living fall arrangement. You know, you've got an upright element with some corn. Maybe you've used some of the Indian corns that are the colorful ears. And maybe you've got gourds growing in the bottom. And you've done those scarlet runner beans that have the pretty flowers. So when the weather gets cold and everything starts dying back, then you've got a built-in fall decoration. You could cut that down and bring it inside. You know, you can utilize those gourds, those corn stalks, in a way, get a second life being a decoration, and that ornamental corn as well. And a lot of them ornamental corns are great ground up into flour if that's your thing. But you know, I guess the point of this all is just consider growing an ancient Three Sisters type garden and play with it. Have some fun with it. You know, see how it works for you. I mean, I got a feeling that you're gonna see, I like this, and this, but I don't like this. So the next year, I got a feeling that the next year you're going to eliminate that element and you're going to have a really cool thing because you're learning. You're learning from your growing. And so, you know, on a cold winter day like this, then doing some research on something like this is, you know, that's the way to be productive out in the garden this time of year. Check back in on me from time to time. You know, we're always doing something new.